Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we'll be looking at all of our ACC teams and looking at the early Vegas predictions on who has the best odds to win the ACC Conference for the 2025-26 football season. First things first though, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about these predictions or anything else, drop them below and I will make sure to respond to every single one of them. Like I said, we're looking at our ACC teams and who has the best odds to win the ACC Conference. In the ACC, you got two teams in the Final 12 last season. Two teams made the playoffs. SMU, Clemson, but there's a lot of big brands there. There's a lot of realignment news going on. There's a lot of contract discussion. There's a lot of changes coming to the ACC both this year and the years to come in the future. But as of right now, it's those big brands at the top. There's a lot of shuffling going on, but there's going to be a lot of really good football this season. Let's take a look at these standings. There on the right side of the screen, you have the FanDuel odds to win the ACC. You have Clemson coming in first place, plus 270. And then you have Miami, plus 310. SMU, plus 440. Louisville, plus 500. Georgia Tech, plus 1300. Florida State, North Carolina, Duke. You have the rest of the teams lining things out. But let's go team by team. Let's break down these teams and let's see if FanDuel and Vegas, if it really makes sense where they're ranking these guys at. Obviously, the very first one we had was Clemson. Big changes with Clemson in the offseason. When I say that, I'm not saying roster-wise, I'm saying the way they approach football. Obviously, they bring in Tom Allen as the defense coordinator, one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. He had a top 3 defense at Penn State this past season. We know he's going to be aggressive. We know he's going to work on that front seven. His goal is to have a great front seven, get a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, get sacks, tackles for a loss, get quarterback rushes. That's his goal. And he's going to be able to bring that to Clemson. Clemson usually annually every season has one of the best front sevens in college football. They will continue that streak here. Their defense will be improved. Their defense was not their strength last season. It has always been one of their strengths. They always have a top 15 defense. They didn't last year, but look for them to get back to that this year. One of the big changes was Riley as the offense coordinator. Year 2, they made drastic steps forward. Klubnik looked like a completely different quarterback. One of the best passing quarterbacks in the entire country last season. One of the best running games, and a really good young crop of wide receivers. And the biggest factor, Clemson is number 1 in the entire nation in returning production this season. Number 1 in the nation. Props to Dabp. Dabp even brought in a couple transfer portal quarterbacks. This is the season for Clemson. They are a junior, senior-laden team. They're working the portal now. They have a great recruiting class coming in. Everything is bright for Clemson right now. With the seniors on this team, with Klubnik deciding to come back, this is the season for them to potentially make a run as a true national champion competitor. They really should be the front runners to me for the ACC. They just won it last season, and it was technically a down year for them. Coming in at number 2, we have Miami. Mario Cristobal and company. They're probably going to have the number 1 pick, Cam Ward. He left this team. Number 1 offense in the entire nation last season, 43.5 points per game. Their weakness, number 75 on defense, second to last in the ACC in conference play. Awful defense last season. They bring in Heatherman as the offensive coordinator. Guidry's gone. Mario Cristobal made the changes he had to make. He has the number 9 overall roster, according to ESPN. This team is loaded, and they're bringing in Carson Beck. Carson Beck, veteran, experienced quarterback from the SEC. He's been through all the battles. He's been in the big games. He's going to bring that experience to Miami, just like Cam Ward. To me, this offense is going to hit the ground running. You're not going to see much of a change, but where you will see changes is how they approach the offense. They were very pass-heavy last season, number 2 in passing in the entire nation. They're going to be more run-heavy this season. Carson Beck loves the play action, one of the best play-action quarterbacks in the nation. Look for them to dominate there. They don't need to be number 1. They just need to have a top 20 offense because their defense should be getting better. They shouldn't be number 75. Look for them to at least, at worst, be a top 50 defense. Ruben Bain, they have a lot of weapons, completely rebuilt the secondary. That's what's going to make the difference here. When the secondary can hold up, that's going to let that front seven pin their ears back and come after the quarterback. That's what they want to do. They're going to have a younger wide receiver core here, but they're going to be loaded on offensive line, lean on the teams, run downhill at them, and let the run game open up that play action pass game. Miami's going to to be competing with Clemson. They're going to be competing for one of those final 12 playoff spots. Then you have SMU coming in. SMU, Rhett Lashlee, they've had a great offense the last few years. They've had a great defense the last few years. Rhett Lashlee basically builds his team off of ACC transfers and Miami football transfers because he was the offensive coordinator there. They have Van Dyke, they have Jennings. Jennings, year 2, this team should be able to kind of compete where they were last season, but they do have a couple players that were seniors. They are timed out. They had to leave this team. But Rhett Lashlee and SMU, they are a sleeping giant. I said last season, preseason, this team should have been ranked to start the season. I thought it was a travesty that they weren't. People were not respecting them because they were coming from the group of 5. They respect them now. They made it to the ACC Conference game. Yes, they lost a close one, but they made the playoff first year in the ACC. You have to respect this team. If they get this team going with the market they are in, this team has a bright future to get back to the powerhouse they were back in the 80s. SMU, keep your eye on them. They have a very good shot to compete with Clemson in the ACC, and they play Miami during the regular season. So whoever wins that game could potentially be the front runner to be playing Clemson in the ACC championship. Then you have Louisville. Louisville, they lost a lot of pieces from last season, but you have to give Jeff Brom his credit. One of the best offensive minds in college football. The reason that I say that is he will adapt his gameplay to whatever the strengths of the players are on his team. He has one of the best young running backs in the entire nation. And yes, they lost their quarterback, but Miller Moss is transferring over from USC. Those who watched him, yes, you might have saw some things that you didn't like, but you saw a lot of things that you had to like. The guy is a great quarterback. He knows how to distribute the ball, and Jeff Brom knows how to use his strengths. When he watches him on the field, he's going to make sure that he's calling plays that he's comfortable with and that he knows that he can make. To me, this offense is going to be really good. They had that shootout with Miami last season. They will be capable of shooting it out with anyone they need to shoot it out with in the ACC. This is at least, at worst, a top 25 team throughout the season. A lot of props for Louisville. Look for them to continue to set that foundation. Yes, you don't want to build your whole team through the transfer portal, but it is at least going to buy you some years now to get that foundation set to where you are a perennial top 25 ACC powerhouse. And then you have Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is one of those teams, they've been competitive the last few seasons, but with King last year, he got banged up. That kind of derailed their season, but they almost finished this season beating Georgia, just basically running the ball. They beat Miami last season just running the ball. You had 9 passes the entire game. This is a team, they know how to win the game on the ground, dominate time of possession, run the ball down your throat, even versus well more talented teams. You don't want Georgia Tech getting good if you're another team in the ACC because they have a market in the South. They have the Atlanta TV market. There's a lot of recruits down there. This is a team that is a sleeping giant. If you awaken them, there's a lot of promise there. They're right in Midtown. They have a lot going on. They are a very talented team. Since their new coach took over, he's revamped this team. He's gotten the offense right. They just need a healthy quarterback, and this is a team that could win 9 to 10 games this season if they're able to keep their entire roster healthy throughout the season. And if they have that healthy roster going into that Georgia game, who knows what can happen. It almost happened last season, 8 overtime game, fun game. It was Georgia Tech to win it, and they lost it. A loss is a loss. It is what it is, but it showed what this team is capable of when they're playing great football. Then you have Florida State, Mike Norvell and company, 2 wins last season. It can't get much worse than that. Yeah, you won, 13 games the year before. You know what Florida State winning looks like. You know what Florida State losing looks like. They're not going to win 2 games this season. They're going to be much improved over that. But how improved can they be in one season? Norvell loves to work that portal. I'm not a big fan of building the entire team through the portal, but when you need a drastic change, you got to do it through the portal. He did it. Castellanos coming in as the quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he should be serviceable. Everyone's familiar with him. He's from Boston College in the ACC. He can throw it a little bit. He can run it. Norvell will be able to adapt his offense. One thing he's pretty good at is working with quarterback. Yes, if you watched DJU last year, you might question that, but DJU, guys, he was awful way before that. He was awful at Clemson. He was okay at Oregon State. Took massive steps backward last season, but he is what he was. He was never good to begin with, a way overrated 5-star guy. Florida State's going to be better. We know they have talent. We know they're in Florida. We know they are going to have a great portal class. They need to get those recruiting classes up, though. This team is much improved, especially on the offensive line, the running game, and that defensive front seven. You have Gus Malzahn coming in to call plays, one of the best offensive minds in football. You have a new defense coordinator from Nebraska. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to be tough. They're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage. Those are our main teams that Vegas has. And you have, obviously, the Tar Heels. Bill Belichick, we don't know what to expect from that as of yet. Duke, new quarterback coming in. Manny Diaz, we know they're going to have a great defense, a very underappreciated team last season. If they can replicate the production they had last season, this is a team to watch. Then you have Virginia Tech, a lot of question marks, Cal, NC State, and the list continues on. But I just want to touch on some of those favorites as of right now. Guys, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.